Hi, welcome to my first video ever. So, I didn't know what I was doing, but I watched some YouTube videos and it looked like fun. I had a bunch of junk mail, who doesn't? And I came up with these beautiful pieces of paper. They could have been better. I learned a lot in the experience. I want to do a part 2 because since recording that, I have found a paper making kit at the Goodwill. The incredible paper making kit. It's pretty cool. It's older than me. I was born in 97 and this one says it was made in 91, so older than me. It came with a couple screens. I did make my own screens for the previous. It's called a mold and decal. I made a mold and decal. These only have the screens. I got 2 different sizes. Mine, how a lot of other people did it, they would make the screen and then they would have a frame that would actually like make your piece of paper. Well, these didn't have that. And the instructions didn't really say that it should have had that. But I would like to do a round 2. It came with instructions. It said it came with a bunch of other stuff as well, but all I got was the instructions and then this little thing, how to do it. Look at him in his cute little sweater here. I guess I can show you the one on the back. Okay, the sweater is not the main feature of that photo. However, that's what caught my eye. Look how cute he is in his little sweater. But essentially, the way they did it is kind of how I did it. So, I did make my paper thick. I on purpose. It's way thicker than a normal piece of paper. And I did that with the intention of creating necklace cards. Like, you know when you sell necklace or buy necklaces, they come on little cards, little like this. I bought this one on Etsy, custom. It's so cute. It's got a little pocket in the back for the string or the chain. Right? So I was going to make my own. And it's kind of fragile paper. I didn't add any. Maybe if I added like glue or something, I don't know. We'll have to play around in the future. However, it wasn't really the aesthetic I was going for. I ended up getting boxes for that. That's not the point of this video. Long story short, I made it thick to make necklace cards. I didn't even attempt to make the necklace cards because I went with something completely different. But here's my paper. It was a lot of fun, and I recorded the process. So now here's how it went. Here's the process. Let's take a look at my year-old footage of me making paper. Here we go. I've got my junk mail, I've got a tub, and I got my paper shredder. And I'm shredding up my paper. I did experience a jam. If you get in a jam, just stay calm, don't get angry, and unjam it, and keep on going. Keep on keeping on. Shred that paper. If you don't have a shredder, you could rip it up by hand. I'm sure that would work. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I'm not an expert here. We take it down to the basement. And if you happen to hoard plastic bags, all you gotta do is snap your fingers, and they'll be gone. And then you're gonna need some water. I got some water, said hi to myself, and poured the water in. Push your paper down. You wanna submerge it, give it a little shake, give it a little stir. And since I had a lot of junk mail left, and I intended to make thick paper this time around, so I added some more. A lot more. I shredded up a bunch of stuff, threw it in. I probably added more water too. I don't think I showed that part. I'm pretty sure I probably did add some more water. But yeah, push it down, submerge it all, give it a good couple shakes, a good stir, and you're gonna let that sit for a while. Next, I'm going to make the mold and decal. So I got 2 identical frames, removed the hardware on the back, and the paper backing. My frames had a lot of staples. It was a struggle. It was the worst part of this whole process. I would recommend, if you were looking for frames, to make sure they didn't have a bunch of staples so that you didn't have to deal with this. I already had these frames So I was using what I had, and I didn't know it until I got into it that I was gonna have to deal with this, but it's okay. So I got all my staples out, removed all the insides, and was left with just a couple frames. Now that you got your frames, we're gonna add more staples and a mesh. So I used this mesh. It was left over from like the magnetic screens, bug screens. I wouldn't recommend this mesh because the holes were too far apart and it ended up giving my paper like a paper towel texture. Oh, I also accidentally stapled through the side here. So when you're stapling your mesh on, be careful of that. If you're too close to the edge, it might poke through, and then you're gonna have to remove yet another staple from your frame and continue on. So yeah, get a mesh that has a tighter weave to it, and continue. I stapled down one end and then another side, and then once I got about like halfway down the third side, I started going from the corner. You want a nice tension here. You don't want wrinkles in your mesh. You want it as flat as possible. So pull the tension, staple it, get a good amount of staples around, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I cut off the excess. Cutting off the excess. The good part is you only have to put the screen on one side. So one side is the screen and the other is the frame that will shape your paper. We'll see how that works later on. So the next step is to make your paper pulp. So pour some water in there, put some of the soaked paper. I don't measure. I don't really measure anything. I usually just eyeball, unless it's crucial, obviously, to measure. Then I'll measure, but this is not crucial. You just want a good amount of water so your paper will blend. Blend it until it's like a good pulp consistency, a paper pulp consistency. And I went through and blended it all up. Blended that whole container. It did take a while, but I ended up with a lot of pulp. So yeah, it's really soft. Surprisingly very soft. So then to make the paper, you're gonna want clean water in your tub. Take a couple handfuls and put it in the water and stir it up. And the more pulp you put in the water, the thicker your paper will be. So then you put your frame in with the loose, the non-screened frame up. Dip it in, pull it up, drain the water, and then what I'm putting over the top of it is a piece of felt. And then using a sponge, removing excess water, as much water as possible, then flipping it and squeegeeing out more water. So you dip it, let it drain as much as possible, and then set it down, put your felt on, soak up the water, give it a good flip, soak up the water again. This also helps to pull the paper off of your screen. And then carefully pull the screen up, and you've got your piece of paper. Woohoo! Pretty cool. These are my first 3 attempts. You can kind of see the paper towel texture I was talking about from the mesh. I'm hoping with the kit, the screens in the kit, I'm hoping those ones will be a small enough mesh to where I won't really be able to see the texture as much next time. I did switch over to a ShamWow rather than just the sponge. I use the sponge sometimes because the thicker my paper got, the more it stuck to the screen. So yeah, you just keep on dipping and soaking up the water and dipping and flipping and just keep on keeping on. I ended up making a good amount of paper with that amount of pulp. I would have gotten a lot more had I not done such thick paper. But yeah, I've learned a lot from this experience thus far, and I would do things a lot different now. Like I'm sure I'll make a second version of this video. But here's how my paper came out. I didn't record it, but I went through and added texture. These were done with wheels from a Lego set. That one is a leaf. So basically all I did was press the Legos and items into the paper, before they dry. So once you have your piece of paper and it's dry and it's hanging out, you want to make the impressions then. And then as it dries, it will hold that impression. The Flower of Life, I think it was a lid. I just used a lid. And then wheels again to make the tracks. That one I think I just poked a bunch and it really emphasized the paper towel feel. Ooh, that one was a stamp. You can use stamps. You can really get creative with this. I know other people have added things to the pulp to add texture or color to their paper, and I definitely want to try that. I didn't play around with that this time. I should have, but now that I've got an idea of how the process goes, I'm definitely going to get a lot more creative with it. That was done with a hosta leaf, and then that one is Legos again. So yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of different options here. I would love to know how much easier or harder it would be if I went with a thinner piece of paper. Those I didn't texturize, those were just how they came out. So yeah, and here's a little montage of my paper. Fun. So there you have it. Paper. I would definitely do things different the next time around. Try out a few different things, add some stuff to my paper, spice it up a little bit. I'm hoping that by using a tighter mesh, it won't give it such a paper towel texture. I'll show you the difference in frames. So here's the frame that I made in the video. You can see I don't know if you can or not. The mesh, the holes are pretty big, and the screen did get quite loose. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see that. There we go. You can see it against my face. So it loosened up quite a bit as I was making the paper. Here is the one that one moment. Here is the one in the kit. The mesh is way closer, so I'm hoping that would give a better result than the screen that I made. So yeah, so we'll use a better screen next time, add more to the pulp, maybe not quite do such a thick pulp. I don't really need the paper to be thick, especially because I didn't even end up doing the thing I intended on doing with the paper, which I intentionally made it so thick. So it'll be cool to see if I can get more of like an actual piece of paper result. I don't know. I think this needs a redemption for sure. I mean, it's been a year since I even recorded the footage, so yeah. About time for a do-over, but it's a lot of firsts for this video. My first time recording a video, editing footage, doing a voiceover, first time making paper, so it was cool. It's a good experience. I definitely recommend it. It's fun. It is a lot of fun, and you get to recycle. I noticed too on here it says recycled junk mail. I thought that was cute because that's what I did. I had so much junk mail, I was like, oh, maybe I could recycle my junk mail. And then I happened to find the incredible paper making kit specifically for your junk mail. Perfect. We'll finish out the video by, they've got little facts, little paper facts, which it's from 1991, so I have a feeling it's probably even more. I'll read the facts, right? Okay, so the fact number 1 says 30% of household garbage is paper. I have a feeling that's way more than 30% now, because we are in such a disposable, it's probably mostly plastic now, because I don't think in 91, there's probably even more plastic use out there than now, but we're talking about paper, not plastic, so I'm sure our household garbage of paper probably went up too. Okay, fact number 2. Each person in North America uses 580 pounds of paper each year. How do they measure that? Are they guessing? How did they get that fact? How would you know? Because you don't use all the paper all at once. You use it throughout an entire year. Someone would have to have saved up all of the paper they used for a year, weighed it, and then you had to have enough people doing that to take an average. The last fact. Recycling of a 3-foot stack of newspapers saves 1 tree. Alright, well, these facts... Because if... By recycling the newspaper, you would save 1 tree. Okay, so putting that paper back into cycle of paper products. Because, like, if you recycle the paper, it's not going to bring a tree back unless you plant another tree. They say recycling's a scam anyway. I would love to know. But this recycling that we do, turning old paper into new paper, not a scam. It's fun. It's a good time. It's easy. It's pretty easy. Pretty cool. Pretty easy. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Try it with your friends and your family or by yourself. It's a good time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in on my first video. Appreciate you sticking through it, even though it's a bit rocky, but hey, you just gotta jump right in. That's the only way to learn, is to do it. So make paper, learn skills, have fun, create, love each other, spread good love. I don't know. I don't know. All of the above. I'm gonna go now. Okay, bye.